Yes, Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. What's going on, everybody? Things are happening. Things are happening. Immigration protests all over the place. This is where we're going to kind of chit chat about that today. So much to consider in our community. We know that some will say that Latinos voted for President Trump in droves, maybe the majority. Others will say that we should stand by our brothers and sisters in these here streets. Even others will say, and even on this program, that we have always examined this very, very deeply, Black immigration, because we know that the immigration policies advanced by the Trump administration do affect our brothers and sisters who are coming in from the Caribbean, from Africa, Belize, all over the world where the diaspora is. Immigration does touch Black folk, and we should be alongside our brothers and sisters there. I don't know, what should we do? Dr. Anthon Samad is here to help us with this dialogue. Good morning, my brother. If I could get you in. There you are. Yes, good morning.
Good morning,
How are
Brother
you?
Greg.
Yes.
They're
What
working
say
you a little
you,
bit over
Dr.
there, huh?
Samad? Man, look, I'm a little late because I'm kind of navigating the protesters and everything all over LA. What's going on? What do you think? What say you?
Well, first of all, nobody really should be surprised by this. I mean, he's been telling us the whole time he was running that he was going to do this. The problem is that people thought that they was talking about them. When he started talking about, the Haitian immigrants in Indianapolis, eating dogs and cats and whatever he was saying, so the nonsense. But at the end of the day, they always intended to go after sanctuary cities. They went after Chicago first, and they went after Los Angeles second. And they'll probably be up in San Francisco before this thing is over. Here's what people really have to understand with respect to presidential authority. The federal government cannot overtake a state. Okay. Usually the governor has to request for assistance. The president just can't determine that he is going to send military authority in a state and take over local and state powers. Okay. The first thing that we have to look at is, did ICE have the authority to be in the state, the federal government, to come in and remove immigrants? Okay, seizure authority is anti-democratic. Usually there has to be a court appearance. Okay, usually there has to be some type of warrant that has gone through either a bureaucratic system or legislative system. Okay, but to just show up and start pulling people off of the streets, those are the types of things that strongman countries do. Now, people have to understand this is a test run. This is a test run to test his authority because they can easily shift this away from immigrants to lock up political dissenters. That's the thing that Putin does, and he likes to emulate Putin. Okay, so political dissent is at the center of this. Whether immigrants have the right to be in the country or not, there is a process for deportation. And generally, law. And when people break the law, okay, then they give up their right to be here. The people who are law-abiding and who are working, okay, they have to go through a process. So that's the first thing. Trump.
Let me ask you this on that point. You said that they don't have the authority to take over states, but yet Trump even suggested today that he would arrest Governor Newsom.
Well, he can try. No court would enforce that.
Mm.
Okay, courts would demand immediate release. But what Trump does is he basically sends up smoke signals, and most of the time they're false smoke signals. He
Sure.
operates best in chaos. Okay, so Mayor Karen Bass said it best: is that they didn't have any problems here until uh, Trump brought in the National Guard. Local government, local law enforcement was handling the situation. Okay,
Sure.
but he accelerated the situation by bringing in the National Guard. Now he wants to send, you know, 700 active Marines, you know, if you look at a map of Los Angeles, basically the protest is downtown. It's like the pin of a needle, you know, with respect to where everything is. But in the meantime, while he's focusing on the protests, if you look at social media and if you follow the conversations that are taking place on social media, focus in ice trucks everywhere, in
Yeah.
Westchester, in Inglewood, in Paramount, and what they're doing is they're sitting outside of businesses that uh, basically employ undocumented. Okay.
Wow.
And so that's where they're basically arrested. The car wash, that I wash my car in Westchester, they showed up there yesterday and arrested all their employees. Okay.
Wow.
And then, it creates another
Look at the
kind of
Home
havoc.
Depot and stuff.
People
Yeah.
try to run, because people will try to run.
Sure.
That's not necessarily an immigrant thing. With people who are citizens, when they see law enforcement and they think they're caught in the wrong, they will run, and
Mm.
that exposes innocent folk and innocent bystanders to not only be a victim of an accident, but also victim to police aggression. And so we have
Mm.
to look at this in the context that is being played out.
Yeah.
So, in terms
You
of what
say
we should
700.
do, which was your original question, is we
Sure.
should monitor this closely. If you want to engage in protests, make sure that it is nonviolent protest, because you essentially giving the government a reason to arrest you when you start destroying property and those types of things. And from what I've been reading and from what I've been seeing, these detention centers, they don't have any dates or anything or any notice to bring you before a court. They could just hold you and deport you, like they did with uh, the folk who were imprisoned that from Venezuela. Okay, they just put
Mm.
them on a plane and sent them somewhere, and even when folk try to find out where they are, they're not getting any cooperation. Um,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Yesterday, Congresswoman Maxine Waters tried to enter a federal detention center, and she has federal authority. The Congress has oversight. Congress oversees the government. The president runs the government, but Congress oversees government, and they fund the government. And so Congress people have the right to access anything that's under federal authority, and they slammed the door in her face.
Wow.
So it's beginning to shape up where he is testing his authoritarian tendencies. He knows that if he acts, and by the time the courts get involved or Congress gets involved, he can retract it, but you've lost a week or a month or a year, and he's done whatever he wants to do, and he's gotten the attention he has sought to get.
Wow. Sending Marines against the public is. I was in the Marine Corps 10 years, and I'm just saying that's
Mhm.
against everything that they talk about. We would never imagine going, being deployed against our own citizens. That's for local, authorities. It's not for operation of the armed services. I mean, that's really beyond. Now, are they setting the stage for martial law? That's one of the things I'm seeing across
Well,
social media.
that would be the next step
Mm.
if local government refuses to cooperate with the federal government. But there are also he has to get that authority from Congress. If Congress can convene, the only time martial law can be put in effect if for some reason Congress can't convene. Okay.
Mhm.
I expect Congress to convene on this relatively quickly, but I think he's really just trying to embarrass the governor and the mayor of Los Angeles through his ideological rhetoric, saying that they are not fit to protect the people. And that's not true. Okay. What he's trying to do is he's trying to enforce his homeland security policy through people who are loyalists, who really don't understand the law and don't understand the degree that they're breaking the law.
So, there's a lot of brothers and sisters out there who may feel that they don't have a dog in the fight because they feel, biased against from their Latino brothers and sisters on the workplace. I know that's a lot
Mhm.
going on in terms of, especially among city and state employees. They're saying that they're, being prejudiced against by Latino workers, and they're mad. All over our communities, there's those who say that the Latinos have not been with us, so why should we be with them now? What do you say to those who feel this way?
Well, you can never be in a position where when wrong is being done, you remain silent. Because if they come for them tonight, they'll come for us in the morning. Okay. Yeah, our politics um, are quite complicated right now because when we say 44% of Latino voters voted for Donald Trump, again, a vote is personal, and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
people interpret candidates. We totally forget about the fact, that there was possibly cheating involved, and when he fell out with Elon Musk, they started telling on each other, and he basically said Trump wouldn't be president if it wasn't for me. So there was some machinations for
Sure.
the election results to come out the way it did. She just had too much money and too much excitement around her campaign, where he didn't have that same thing.
Yeah.
So the issues become convoluted. But
Mhm.
if you say you stand for justice, and this is the same moral suasion that King used in Birmingham when the white preachers were telling him, the ecumenical preachers were telling him to go slow, that he was pushing too fast.
Mhm.
And that's when he wrote the letter from a Birmingham jail. Okay. If you say you stand for justice, it's not just justice for black people, it's justice for everybody.
Mhm.
And right is right and
Mhm.
wrong is wrong. We can have that conversation with our Latino brothers and sisters or our white brothers and sisters who dissented, you know, uh, against Kamala in favor of someone that we know has questionable character. But let's have that fight after we resolve this fight,
Yeah.
which is basically uh, impugning the rights of folk to live in this country, to work in this country. And if they've broken the law, then there is a due process under the law.
Mhm. Your words are reminding me of one of my favorite quotes from the movement, and that's Kathleen Cleaver. She says, if what does she say? Everybody doesn't have justice. Everybody doesn't have freedom. So that means none of us do. So we'll
Right,
take this country and change it. Put the first
right,
last and the last first, not just for black people, but for all people. That's what she
right.
says. Yeah.
And that's what I say. It's a trial run. If he gets away with
Mhm.
it, then trust me, Latinos ain't gonna be the only ones he come after.
Man, man, man. Ooh, so I guess folks in the community, we have black folk got a lot to think about right now. We have a lot to consider. We got to make up our minds fast. And,
Well, right now it's a battle. It's a battle between the feds and the state. Okay, who has the authority? Because this is a fight over authority. Basically, the citizenry are victims of the convoluted power between feds and state and local government. And state has policing rights. Okay, federal government doesn't police the states police themselves. Okay, so can you come into a state and decide you want to police a state or police a city? That's what is a question here.
Mm-hmm. States' rights. So
That's
what's
right.
different
It's
from,
states' rights.
yeah. So what's different from in that philosophy? Like what's different now than when the states had the right to have segregation, right?
Mm.
That's basically the argument that they were making, Alabama and Mississippi and all that we could do whatever we want to in our state to keep these black folks on that side of the tracks. And the government was like, no.
Well, that's the argument around sanctuary cities. The states and cities have the right to determine if they want to welcome undocumented. The federal government cannot, decide, well, we're not going to let you have undocumented and we're going to deport everybody we find, So that's an invasion of the state.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Man, oh man, this is just so much. And Dr. Samad, I know you need to roll off and take care of your business. But well, let me just take this moment. Thank you for coming on at the last minute because, as the headlines were raging, I was like, I got to get somebody on to, help us decipher all of this. And
Yeah.
you're one of my top go-tos here to give us some levity and just that intellectual perspective on what is in front of us across this country. And I really do appreciate you. And congratulations on your recent jazz festival for the Mervyn Dimerly Institute. Yes, brother, you're doing a good thing. You're really, really blowing up. I sure would like to know more about the Institute. I think I'm going to call you offline and just kind of listen. I want to know more about it. And how can I be of help? How can folks help you with the Mervyn Dimerly Institute?
I'd be more than happy to come back and talk about the Institute. And this situation is fluid. I'm sure this is not going to be the last conversation. It's not going to end tomorrow. That's for
right.
sure. This
I
could
heard
go on for a week or two.
I heard LAPD police chief said this could go on for months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right, sir. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Time and thank you for your information. Yes. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is heard everywhere, wherever you get your favorite podcast, Facebook, YouTube, uh, sometimes Instagram, and then we repurpose the audio, and that's where you can get your favorite podcast there. Peaceful protest, y'all. That's what I got out of this conversation. If you choose to protest, let's do it non-violently. Let's do it peacefully. Because if you go out there and get to throwing rocks and everything like that, you're just giving them a reason to crack heads. Breathe, y'all. There's a lot going on. Above all, love one another, huh? Peace and blessings.